I'm going to be addressing the 1NC case attack's new arguments. As my opponent stated, most animal experiments are done on animals that are nothing like humans. However, according to Animal Testing Pros and Cons by Batul Baksamusa, human beings share about 99% of their genes with chimpanzees and only slightly fewer with other monkeys. As a result, the reactions of these creatures are a very good guide to possible reactions of human patients. Even lower down the scale, other animals share the same basic psychology with humans. It would be immoral to risk the life of a human being when a medicine or procedure could instead be tested on chimpanzees and other monkeys. Also, chimpanzees share about 90% of their genetic makeup with humans. These animals have similar reactions and somewhat similar inner organs to humans that help in determining the effects of drugs and procedures on humans. Many transplantation operations were first carried out on chimps that helped determine and save lives for humans. According to an article published on December 15, 2011, in the New York Times, the National Institutes of Health suspended all new grants for biomedical and behavioral research on chimpanzees and accepted the first uniform criteria for assessing the necessity of such research. Those guidelines require that the research be necessary for human health and that there be no other way to accomplish it. This shows that testing on animals just because is not allowed and will only be done if necessary. Furthermore, in an article titled "Chimps' Days in the Lab May Be Dwindling" by James Gorman, he states, biomedical research on chimps helped produce a vaccine for hepatitis B and is aimed at one for hepatitis C, which infects 170 million people worldwide. Chimps' similarity to humans makes them valuable to research. My opponent also stated that there are new issues raised by the advent of genetic engineering in transgenic animals. These, like all animal experiments, should be closely monitored so as to minimize animal suffering. According to animal testing statistics by Srinivas Kannade, it is said that 61% of the animals used in research suffer no pain, as opposed to the 6% that experience pain. According to the USDA, 6% experience pain as alleviation would compromise the validity of the data. Much of this work is directed at an understanding of pain. Also, according to USDA, 31% of all animals are relieved of pain through euthanasia. Cloning and experimentation can also be helpful in the medical aspects of both humans and animals. According to genomics.energy.gov, recombinant DNA technology is important for learning about other related technologies such as gene therapy, genetic engineering of organisms, and sequencing genomes. Gene therapy can be used to treat certain genetic conditions by introducing virus vectors that carry corrected copies of faulty genes into the cells of a host organism. Genes from different organisms that improve taste and nutritional value or provide resistance to particular types of disease can be used to genetically engineer food crops. The fact that there are new issues here does not mean that there should never be any experiments on animals. We cannot solely focus on the negatives of these things. What is often forgotten about in the debating process of animal testing is the subject of veterinary medicine. It is in the interest of animals that experiments be done on animals to test medicines and surgical procedures, not just on humans. Animal experimentation can be in the interest of animals as well. If we did not test certain things on animals, we would not be able to have medicine for them either. No matter what, animals will never be able to give their consent. What if they did not want certain things we give them, even if it's supposed to help their condition? The truth is, we will never know. In an article titled "Animal Testing Pros" by Ranjan Shanadila, animal testing is a crucial part of medical research, and without some advancements and breakthroughs, treatment of critical diseases cannot be made. Finally, testing on animals has helped develop vaccines for many life-threatening diseases, like herpes simplex, hepatitis B, polio, rabies, malaria, mumps, viruses related to organ transplantation, rejection, and more.
Now Mickey will be cross-examining Kate.
How do you know that all transplants first performed on chimps will be successful in humans?
Of course, I'm not positive that all transplants will be successful on humans just because they worked on chimps first, but since they have the closest genetic makeup, I'd say it's worth a try and could be very helpful if performed correctly.
How will animal experimentation be monitored to make sure the only time it is done is when it's completely necessary?
As I stated before, according to the New York Times, the National Institutes of Health suspended all new grants for biomedical and behavioral research on chimpanzees and accepted the first uniform criteria for assessing the necessity of such research. Those guidelines require that the research be necessary for human health and there be no other way to accomplish it. So there will be laws and close monitoring at hand by the government.
You mentioned gene therapy. What does this have to do with the effects of experimentation?
Gene therapy is just one benefit that we can gain from cloning and experimentation. It is something that can lead to greater advances in animal testing as time goes on.
Courtney will be presenting the second negative construct on why animal experimentation is illegal.
Lindsay made a good point earlier by stating that animal research is considered a last resort, to be used only when there is no alternative method. She also claimed that it is possible to experiment on animals without being cruel. I will address the fact that animals have the right to be treated as beings of value in themselves, not as the means to human ends. According to the Medical Research Modernization Committee, the general public, which cares about animal welfare, has been led to believe that animals rarely suffer in laboratories. In practice, as everyone knows, animals are not routinely treated well by animal experimenters. Apart from the fact that millions of animals die each year in experiments, others are often not adequately anesthetized and are abused by handlers and experimenters. American Medical Association 1988 states animal experimenters often cite U.S. Department of Agricultural statistics derived from researchers themselves, which claim that only 6 to 8% of animals used in animal experimentation experience pain unrelieved by anesthesia. U.S. Department of Agriculture 2002 Farm Bill Amendment, however, states that mice, rats, birds, in the United States constitute over 90% of all animals used in animal experimentation, receive absolutely no protection from the Animal Welfare Act. People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, declares that mice, rats are forced to inhale toxic fumes, dogs are force-fed pesticides, and rabbits have corrosive chemicals rubbed into their skin and eyes. Many of these tests are not even required by law, and they often produce inaccurate or misleading results. Even if a product harms animals, it can still be marketed to you. Cruel and deadly toxic tests are also conducted as part of massive regularity testing programs that are often funded by U.S. taxpayers' monies. The Environmental Protection Agency, the Food and Drug Administration, the National Toxicology Program, and the Department of Agriculture are just a few of the government agencies that subject animals to painful and crude tests. I will now address the fact that there are actually few breakthroughs that have been made as a result of animal experimentation. The main source of medical knowledge has always been the direct study of human disease by closely monitoring human patients. According to Raines' 1991, proponents of animal experimentation, tests, experiments, and educational exercises involving harm to animals claim that it has played a crucial role in virtually all medical advances. However, several medical historians argue that key discoveries in such areas as heart disease, cancer, anesthesia, and psychiatry were in fact achieved through clinical research, observation of patients, and human autopsies. For example, cardiologist Jean Ornish has demonstrated that a low-fat vegetarian diet, regular exercise, and stress management can reverse heart disease. Similarly, Caldwell Esselstyn has shown that lowering cholesterol levels with plant-based diets and medicines as needed arrests and often reverses heart disease. Henry Heimlich has relied exclusively on human clinical investigation to develop techniques and operations that have been saved thousands of lives, including the Heimlich remover for choking and drowning victims, the Heimlich operation to replace the esophagus, the throat tube, and the Heimlich chest drainage valve. Taylor Robinson, 2001, Savory RL 2001, and Pirker CM 1991 all agree that modern non-invasive imaging devices such as CAT, MRI, and PET inspect scans have revolutionized clinical investigation. These devices permit the ongoing evaluation of human diseases in living human patients and have contributed greatly to medical knowledge.
Kate will now cross-examine Blake.
By saying you disagree with our statement that animal research should be considered as an alternative method, and by are you implying that if need be, we should experiment on humans rather than animals?
The application of this principle means that animals should never be experimented upon whatever the potential gain of humanity. To infect monkeys with AIDS virus or to expose rodents to toxic chemicals and radiation is simply not acceptable, whatever the supposed benefits. Furthermore, there are alternatives to many tests that are currently being done on animals. Example, growing tissues or cell cultures from human cells in a laboratory.
How can you say that there are few?
Because its advocates have overstated its achievements. There have been a catalog of errors and failures in animal testing, which its advocates gloss over. As many as half the drugs that have been approved in the US and the UK after animal testing have subsequently had to be withdrawn because of harmful side effects.
How can everyday people make a change in the testing of animals?
PETA suggests that we demand that our alma maters stop experimenting on animals by buying cruelty-free products, by donating only to charities that don't experiment on animals, by requesting alternatives to animal dissection, and by demanding the immediate implementation of humane, effective, non-animal tests by government agencies and corporations.